You're listening to Two Girls, One Crossword.
So do you want to hear a funny story?
Yes.
Okay. It's funny in retrospect.
Okay.
As I was experiencing it, definitely not funny. But, you know, we take what we can get when we can get it. So my boyfriend Matt works downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And once a week I will pick him up as like a treat instead of him having to like take the train, which, you know, we live like 40 minutes from downtown via train and then you have to walk to the apartment, etc. So once a week I'll drive down and pick him up because I'm like a nice girlfriend, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so last night was the big Mexican Independence Parade downtown. And Matt
You were driving in the parade.
Well, Matt tried to tell me that the parade was happening. I misunderstood his text message. And so I went downtown and it was bonkers, to say the very, very least. It was truly insane. I got stuck on the LaSalle Street Bridge for ages. People were lighting like smoke bombs and fireworks in the intersection of LaSalle and Wacker. And I was God. Okay, this is what's happening. Finally, I get through, pick Matt up, and we're like, okay, let's take one of these South Streets. We'll get to Lakeshore Drive. We'll bop home in like 15 minutes. Well, we get stuck again on Monroe, and it's like people hanging out of cars, fireworks, horns, dancing. People like the car, it's like standstill traffic. People getting out of the cars, dancing in the streets. You know, like
you're basically in the parade now.
I was basically in the parade and like I feel very happy for these people. And I wish that I had something that I gave a shit about as much as these people care about this day.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, it was creeping up on 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like sitting on Monroe. I'm like, wow, we're never getting out of here. Like it's standstill traffic. Fast forward, we finally get to Jackson and Jackson takes you right to Lakeshore Drive. Get to Lakeshore Drive. The police officer walks up and says, you have to turn around. We're not letting anybody go on like North Lakeshore Drive. And I was like, are you kidding? It took us ages.
Did you take side streets all the way home?
What we ended up having to do is
without giving away your address.
Yes, we had to go back down Jackson and go to 94 East, but it was standstill traffic. Every intersection was fireworks and dancing and cars and blaring horns and music. And like, it looked like a lot of fun. Like everyone was having a lot of fun except me, Matt, and the dog that was in the back seat. And we finally got to 94 and it was like a breeze home. But it was just like, if we had known that we had to take 94, we would have taken that from the beginning. Anyway, happy Mexican Independence Day. I'm happy for you all. Beautiful parade. Loved the fireworks. If you're interested in fireworks, I did that, last week? It's a topic.
Yeah. Now you know.
So like I said, funny story in retrospect. I guess there was no part of that where anybody laughed, except I guess just funny, interesting, not funny, haha. You know what I'm saying?
I get it. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta be careful. You can't get caught in something like that.
You can,
because you have no idea how long you might be stuck there.
Truly. And Matt tried to warn me. I misread his text message entirely, and here we are.
I'm trying to wonder how this text messages couldn't have been clear. It was like, "There's a huge parade going on downtown. Don't drive down here."
Well, there's a typo.
Oh,
but like it wasn't a typo that should have changed the meaning of the text message, and it really didn't. But I got hung up on the typo, and I was like, he said he misspelled whacker, okay? And so then I got caught up. I'm like, what are you trying to say? What is that word? And I got him to say whacker, and because I didn't read, I only got caught up on the whacker typo. I didn't fully read the text message. Do you know what I'm saying?
Cheese.
Classic. You know, I care about a typo. I am really bad at spelling, but I guess I care about typos, so. That's my fun story.
That is very fun. Nothing that fun happened to me today. Or yesterday.
Sorry.
I'm upset because I'm eating tortilla chips and I feel like our listeners don't want to listen to me chomp on tortilla chips during the recording, which is fair.
They'd be wrong. Okay.
Some people aren't into that. But if you are tuning in, tortilla-free listening, This is Two Girls, One Crossword. I'm Grace Topinka,
I'm Chelsea Rowan.
and we're your favorite weekly Podword Crosscast.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I could eat a tortilla chip right now, actually.
Yeah, they make you really thirsty. So then I've been drinking, you can't I have to pause my drinking and eating for the day. I'm a grazer. I like to be doing that all day, every day. For the recording, I can't. It's very upsetting.
It is what it is.
Shall we get
what it is? Yes.
Shall we get into our Polapalooza?
Let's do the Polapalooza.
Okay. Remember to follow us on Twitter at the Good Eve Girls. We asked, do you use hostels when you travel? Options were yes all the time, sometimes but not usually, and then never. And no one voted for yes all the time. I didn't vote in this. The winning choice with 67% was never, and then 33% said sometimes but not usually. And someone commented saying, I'm too old to use hostels, but I did stay in some when I was younger. And I'd like to say that you aren't too old to stay in hostels. I have seen people of all ages in hostels. I'll say that. If you feel uncomfortable sharing a room with youngsters, you can always get a private room, still cheaper than a hotel.
Mm-hmm. And like you said last time, read about the hostel before you book it, because you can get there's hostels that have 18-person rooms, 20-person rooms. There's hostels that have 4-people rooms, 6-people rooms, and if you're at a mellow hostel with a 4-person room, it doesn't matter what age you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
everyone's going to sleep and going to museums.
Exactly.
Exactly. And it's cheaper. Who doesn't like saving money?
I do. I certainly do.
We love saving money on this podcast.
Speaking of saving money, should we get into our hits and shits?
Yes! I love that for us. Let me see. I guess I'll start with a puzzle that I liked.
Okay.
Not to make you think that there was a puzzle I didn't like this week.
But now I'm suspicious.
She's suspicious for no reason. Maybe just because I worded that in a strange way. Anyway, let's just do it, okay? This puzzle I liked. Friday, September 10th, New York Times by Adrian Cabbington. I'm so sorry. The opener, one across, hack job. And the answer was data breach. We love a good data breach.
That's smart.
It was good, though. 15 across, news alert of old. Extra.
Extra.
Grace, we actually, if we were, newsboys in, the late 1800s, standing on, milk crates, screaming extra, imagine, we could be newsies, It'd be fun.
That's, I have the skills for that job.
Yes. Grace and I are always on the lookout for a job where we could work together as a pair and just have lots of... Yes. We personally would have lots of fun. Cannot confirm whether everybody else would have fun, but we would have fun. That's the point. This one tripped me up, and I think this clue was used twice this week in a puzzle. I saw a lot of repeat clues and answers this week. And again, we talked about this before. People say it's not planned. I don't fucking believe you.
I feel like they're gaslighting us.
They're gaslighting us.
They want us to think, to not trust ourselves, to be like, didn't they just do an Alan Alda clue yesterday?
Exactly. So here it is. This tripped me up. 26 across, naval type. And the answer was Audi. I think there was one, it was naval type, but it was any in a different puzzle or something like that. And I believe the way you would know what naval they're talking about is, I believe naval with on the sea, and don't quote me on this, I'm probably going to embarrass myself and have to do a corrections corner next week. The naval people that go on boats, I think that's spelled Naval, whereas naval, belly button, is Navel.
I think that's right.
But I didn't notice that, and I got tripped up, and I was thinking about the Army, I was thinking about the Navy.
They want to trip you up, Chelsea. That's the point of that clue.
I know, I'm sorry.
You know this.
And then, of course, I have to talk about this one. 49 across, nickname for Chicago's Cloud Gate sculpture.
The Bean.
I just love seeing the Bean in big block letters across the New York Times crossword. It's lots of fun.
Most people don't know that it's Cloudgate, yes. Chicagoans.
Yes. It looks like a big fava bean, lima bean. No, more
jelly
like
bean.
Kidney bean. Oh, jelly bean.
Yeah, it's a kidney bean because it has a curve to it.
There's a curve. It's not like a lima bean. Anyway, come to Chicago and see the Bean.
I always feel like the artist is like, I named this cloud gate and I put my soul into it. And everyone's like, let's look at the bean because it looks like a bean.
Exactly. What do you got for me?
Well, I learned from the Monday, September 13th puzzle by A. Tariq. 33 across. State whose flag, with 8 gold stars in the shape of the Big Dipper, was designed by a 13-year-old. It's my favorite state, Alaska.
Yes, I was going to bring that up too.
Did I go over this in my flag episode? I don't
You
think
did
I
not.
did.
You did not. It was brand new information for both of us. And if you're interested in learning about flags, or vexillology, as it's called, people who study flags or have a passion for flags, you can listen to episode 27, Legalize Ipecacuanha.
Yes.
Which is one of the best titles Grace has ever come up with for episodes. So good job on that one.
It's my fave. Normally I don't like to put the topic in the title because I like to confuse people, as well as all our descriptions. So sorry if you're ever looking for anything specific. I realize that is incredibly annoying, but...
It's annoying when I have to go back, because we keep a master list of all of the topics we do, and like, I don't update it all the time, but like when I do it in chunks, I'll go back and I like have to, I totally just blank on what our topics are, and I'll just like, oh, let me just go to the anchor page or the podcast page and let's see. And I'm like reading the titles and like the descriptions. I'm like, I literally have no idea.
Well, I feel like the reason why we started doing it like that is because for some reason we make our topic each week a secret from each other to like build suspense.
Yes.
So I feel like if we put the topic in the description, then there's no fun. Then everyone knows.
I agree. I agree entirely.
Know?
There's the suspense is like one of the positives we have going for our podcast.
But I also feel like it's annoying. So
hey,
maybe at the very bottom of the like I'll put in parentheses what the episodes is about.
Let's think about. Let's ruminate. Let's think.
If one person tells me they would like that, then I'll do it. But if no one cares,
you know where to find us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Come find us. Yes, I liked that one. I was gonna bring that up too. Speaking of learning things, I learned a couple things this week.
You did?
Yes. One from the Sunday, September 12th New York Times by Alex Rosen, 25 across. Phenomenon such as the tendency to see human forms in inanimate objects. And this is not, what's the word? Anthropomorphizing, because that's when you give something, like, you like give it like human life, elements. Like human elements, life, like, you know, BoJack Horseman is a good example of that. That's like an intentional act, is to do something. This is a phenomenon of seemingly randomly seeing those kinds of patterns in nature. It is called pareidolia. Pareidolia. Mm-hmm. Spelled Pareidolia. Pareidolia. And I got this from Wikipedia, but I think it explains it because it's not just about seeing, like, for instance, like in a cloud, seeing like a horse. It's not just that, or seeing like Marilyn Monroe's face on like a piece of bread. It is the tendency for perception to impose meaningful interpretation on a nebulous stimulus, usually visual, so that one sees an object, pattern, or meaning where there is none. Is this what we are going through when we think that the crosswords are all connected?
Maybe. This is like when people have angel numbers. No offense to anyone who believes in that, but...
Exactly. Common examples of perceived images are like animals, faces, or objects in clouds, seeing faces in inanimate objects, or like lunar pareidolia, which is the man on the moon. And then this concept extends to include hidden messages in recorded music played in reverse or at higher or lower than normal speeds, and hearing voices, mainly indistinct, or music in random noise, such as that produced by air conditioners or fans.
Interesting. Well, if anyone's sending me hidden messages, I'm not getting them.
Yeah, no, you got to try a little harder, okay? You got to try. Also from that puzzle, I really liked this. I just thought it was interesting. 50 across. Music's most maligned genre, per critic Tom Connick. And Tom Connick apparently is a critic at Enemy. So what would you guess?
Country or rap?
I thought both. It's 3 letters, so I thought rap. It's wrong. It's emo.
Oh, really?
And I think what happened here is that they wanted to use emo and they tried to find a factoid about emo. No shade to Alex Rosen or the New York Times editorial staff on that one. I thought it was interesting. Mm-hmm. All of my friends listen to emo music, so I don't run in a circle where people don't like emo, so I find this hard to believe.
But maybe society doesn't like you and your friends.
Yeah, that's true. It's okay. I don't like them either. And then also, another thing I learned from that puzzle was 81 down, one who consumes a ritual meal to absolve the souls of the dead. And the answer is sin eater. Sin eater.
I've never heard that before.
Right? Okay. This is also from Wikipedia. A sin eater is a person who consumes a ritual meal in order to spiritually take on the sins of the deceased person. The food was believed to absorb the sin of the recently dead person, thus absolving the soul of the person. Sin eaters, as a consequence, carried the sins of all peoples whose sins they had eaten. Basically, it's a form of ritual. It's most common in Wales or English countries or counties bordering Wales. And it's a very Christian thing, although there are other cultures that have some sort of ritual around absolving wrong deeds. Mm-hmm. But it's like a Christian thing.
Yeah, sins.
Sins. And then just going to end on this puzzle. This is for you, Grace, just for fun. 99 down, Frank.
Wiener?
And the answer was Wiener. So there you go.
I'm on that wavelength. Thank you very much.
Gotta love it.
Did you do the Tuesday New York Times by Christopher Adams?
I did.
I liked that one. The theme was 57 Across, 2013 Best Musical Tony winner, with a hint to this puzzle's theme. It was Kinky Boots. But then there was a bunch of different cross sections where Boots was all jumbled up, kinked, if you will. So, for example, some answers that were crossed with each other were Gobstopper and Boosters. And then the shaded areas of Boost and Obsto were shaded. And if you rearranged, then it was Boots.
There you go.
Kinky Boots. And I also learned from that puzzle, 42 Across, Bygone M&M color. Tan.
Very strange.
They had tan M&Ms. I mean, do they replace it with brown? They're like, people are more used to eating brown things. Because you know what they say? Anything that's tan is healthy for you to eat.
Is that a lie?
No, it's from Eric Andre. Well, it's beige or something, or gray.
I can just tell by the way Grace looks when she says something that's trying to fuck with me. Anyway, no, that was kind of weird to me. I was like, I don't know if I could eat a tan M&M. It's like eating leather.
That's why it's bygone.
True. All true. What else? I did a bunch of USA Today this week.
You did?
Yes. But before I get into, I'm just going to talk about one of them. Before I get into that, I want to talk about the Sunday, September 12th New York Times by Sid Sivakumar. I liked this. I like seeing this. 28 down. What may be corrected on a trans person's birth certificate?
Name?
Dead name.
Oh, nice.
To see dead name in a puzzle was awesome. I think we should all understand what that is and the implications of what it means to accidentally, or even some people use dead names intentionally, and I just want to kick them in the shins until they bruise badly, etc. So, thought that was nice to see that. And then that's related to what I want to talk about in the Sunday, September 12th USA Today by Jocelyn Bernickel, 15 Across, gender blank. And the answer was euphoria, which I didn't know was a term, but then I read about it on Urban Dictionary and I was like, it makes sense that this is a term. Gender euphoria is an experience transgender and non-binary individuals feel instead of or along with gender dysphoria. A trans person or non-binary person may feel gender euphoria by presenting as their gender they identify with and or by using their preferred pronouns. So it's like, that's what it is. And you'd love to see it in a crossword.
Yeah. Good cluing for euphoria, which is a fun word in general.
It is, yes. It's great cluing for euphoria. And I think that's all that I have.
Well, I liked the Washington Post Sunday. When was it? September 12th, I think. by Evan Bernholz, and it was called Voiceovers. And the theme was just kind of cute. So basically, in the puzzle, they had different shows, and then the clues were all like, let's see, let me find an example of one. 39 down, animated film with voiceovers by Idina Menzel and Kristen Bell, and the answer is Frozen. And so on the outside of the grid was the character's name that Idina Menzel and Kristen Bell voiced. So Elsa and Anna. So for example, for Elsa, the down clues were like one would be passed by as hours, and it was lapsed, but E was written outside of the grid, so E lapsed. And then the next one was scalp woe, ice, but L was written outside. 9 down, blank of the tongue, lip of the tongue, but it was really an S, was written outside. And then gives a hand to IDs, but it's really AIDS because A is written outside. So like basically above the grid, ELSA, Elsa was written. And so they had Lion King, Simpsons, Family Guy, and Frozen.
And they were all over?
And on the side, like every over, bottom, and to the side. So yeah, voice over. They were all over, but
okay, that's so good. Oh my god, he always comes up with amazing clues.
I know.
Or themes.
And week after week. There was another cute clue from this one that wasn't related to the theme that I thought was fun. 114 across, puts out friskies for a friend, say. And the answer was cat sits.
Ooh, that's cute.
Oh, and 15 across, plant life, ? And it was spying.
Oh, I love when they do that.
Yes, so thanks, Evan. It was fun.
Oh, I just realized I actually did have one more clue that I wanted to talk about from the Tuesday, September 14th, USA Today by Rebecca Goldstein and Brooke Cusick. Was 66 across, blank, quote, blank, go my own way, end quote, Efron Hudgens duet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gotta go my own way. What about us? What about everything we've been through?
What about trust?
You know I never wanted to hurt you. Anyway, actually, and I had one more. Sorry, I'm just going to finish this off. This is my last
one. You're a liar.
This is from another USA Today one, so I just wanted to let everybody know that I did the USA Todays. Wednesday, September 15th, USA Today by Zausheen Bernickel, 9 across, the Shib blank, ice dancing duo. And the answer was the Shib Sibs, so the answer was Sibs. It was a great way to clue Sibs, because that's crosswordese. And if you are familiar with the Shib Sibs, they have won 6 titles at the Grand Prix Series. They have a silver medal at the 2009 World Junior Championships. They are 2-time members of the U.S. Olympic team, competing in 2014 in Sochi and 2018 in South Korea. In 2018, they both became the first ice dancers who are both Asian descent to medal at the Olympics. Which is great. So ice dancers. So they medaled together as ice dancers, the first Asians. Anyway, as Sibs, the Shib Sibs. Very cute. They're resting. They're skating. They're not doing it professionally right now, but they're writing a book. So I love ice skating, and I just thought that was a great team name. If Grace, I would have been a great proficient if I had been an ice skater. Also, if we had met each other as 4-year-olds and learned how to ice skate together.
I know, we could have had a totally different life. Oh, well.
Anyway,
we can't go back now. Now we have this podcast, and that's the best we can do.
That's all we can do. This is all we can give you. Okay?
Shall we flip the coin and get into our topics?
Yes. I'm going to flip the coin.
Let's see. It's been tails.
Now.
But I feel like it's going to be heads this week. I'm feeling good for you this week.
Funny you should say that.
It's heads.
It's tails. So, you know.
Well, I felt good for you, but maybe good for you that you get to listen to my topic. Okay, my topic comes from the Tuesday, September 14th, New York Times by Christopher Adams, 37 across, like some fake nails.
Press-ons.
Yes.
Are you doing nail salons?
I'm doing manicures, nail art, all that stuff.
Oh, yes. I actually feel like I've seen a TikTok about this subject, about how nail art and like manicures and stuff became popular in the US. Anyway.
Well, kind of.
I wonder the 5th of November what Grace is going to be teaching me. Okay, let's do it.
I guess you'll find out right now.
Ooh.
So the art of decorating our nails, did it get popular in the US? I don't know. The fact is, it's been around for a very, very long time. People have been decorating their nails, dyeing their nails, all that stuff. So archaeologists have actually discovered Egyptian mummies with gilded nails and henna-tinted fingertips. And around that same time, in 5000 BC, Indian women were staining their nails with henna, and ancient Babylonian men used coal to color their nails. So people were doing all types of stuff. But it wasn't always just for aesthetics, because archaeologists also unearthed a solid gold manicure set in southern Babylonia dating to 3200 BC that was apparently part of combat equipment. So I say we bring this back. Camo acrylic nails, everyone. US Army. We're going to be doing terrible things. Doing it in style.
Do it.
The first nail polish is credited to, of course, our friends in ancient China. In 3000 BC, everything
gotta love
was
it.
to be invented there. So women in ancient China would soak their nails in a combination of egg whites, gelatin, beeswax, and dyes from flower petals. And two of the most commonly used flowers were roses and orchids, resulting in a reddish-pink tint. Long, colored nails were an indication of wealth and social status. And they also had these, like, nail guards that were just these blinged-out golden guards, like metal tips you would wear like around your nails. Those are very popular. But obviously, like if you were lower class and doing menial labor, you couldn't have any of this like nail stuff. So it was a sign of, you know, being rich, basically.
Of course.
And then red nails, the classic red nail. Red nails specifically have been a sign of social status and power throughout time. So members of the Ming dynasty had crimson nails with lengthy extensions, very long ones. The Egyptian queens Nefertiti and Cleopatra were famed for wearing red nails. And interestingly, lower ranking citizens were only allowed to wear pale shades on their nails, which nowadays, that kind of like nude French manicure, that's like associated with sophistication, like upper class, waspy type. But before it was like the bright nails. That's what made you, you know,
someone
rich. Yeah. The first modern nail shop was opened by an American woman named Mary E. Cobb. Mary was married to a New England podiatrist, and she learned the art of the manicure when traveling in France. She redeveloped the process by creating a series of steps, which include soaking the fingers, carefully trimming the nails, and then filing and shaping the nails. And she also created an enamel to protect the nail and give it a little color. So she opened her first shop in Manhattan in 1878 called Mrs. Prey's Manicure. And Prey was her husband's last name, but they ended up getting divorced, so.
Okay, well.
Do with that what you will. Business boomed. She had shops all around the country, and she also invented the emery board while she was at it.
Thank you.
So yes, like the modern nail salon was kind of started in the U.S. In 1911, Q-Tex came out with the cuticle softener, and in 1925, they came out with the first liquid nail polish. In 1920, makeup artist Michelle Menard set out to create a glossy nail polish that she wanted to mimic the shiny paint on cars. She perfected the formula, and she would use it like on flappers and stuff, and it was hugely popular. In 1932, she launched the cosmetic giant known today as Revlon. That was the start of Revlon. And fun fact, Revlon only had nail polish for years. That was all they did. And then they eventually did lipstick, and now they have like, you know, all types of makeup products. And then in 1957, acrylic nails, which some people may not know listening might not know what acrylic nails are. Those are basically fake nails that go on top of your nails. They usually make your nails longer. If you see really long nails, they're probably acrylic or press-on, which is like plastic versions of acrylic that you just glue onto your nail. Some people do have naturally really long nails. It's not always acrylic, but it was actually invented by a dentist. This was in 1957. Frederick Slack was a dentist, and he broke his nail at work. And so he used dental acrylic to like make a nail shape. He used aluminum foil as the mold and created like the, you know, the curvature of a nail over it, which is kind of similar to how they do tips now. Like, if you have seen that. But it looked so realistic to him. Him and his brother, who's also a dentist, went on to create and patent what is known today as acrylic nails.
Wow.
It all started in a dentist's office.
I just wonder why he worked so hard to like fix his nail.
I know. I couldn't really understand why he cared so much. And it was like he didn't want anyone to realize he had cut his nail at work. I was like, okay. But
like, how long were your nails that you needed to fix it?
I know. I think he cut like the middle of his nail, you know, and it was just to like repair. It wasn't to give himself like really long nails, just to repair the basic nail.
Okay.
All right. And then what about French manicures? Were they invented in France? No, they weren't.
Typical.
So Jeff Pink is an American makeup artist, and he is the current founder and CEO of Orly. If you know Orly, they make nail polish and other things, I think.
Okay.
In 1975, he was a Hollywood beauty supplier and a makeup artist. This is a quote from him. Quote, "The directors would complain about how long it would take to change the nail colors on the actresses to match their wardrobes for different scenes. They asked me to make a color that would go with everything. I thought of using white polish on the tips of the nails. I used it on the tips of the nails, then put a flesh tone polish over it."
Wow.
So he was basically tasked with creating a nail look that would match every, wardrobe change.
It's true. To this day, it kind of is like the standard.
Yeah. Although I feel like it's not, it was really, really popular in the 90s, and it's picked up popularity now. But now people do like different, you can do like a different color tip. You could do different
styles.
Tip.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. At the time, white nail polish wasn't common, and it was like expensive and not easy to get. But the studios knew that they were saving a lot of money by not having to like redo manicures, and they also saved time, so they went for it. And so Jeff Pink was like, this is a good business opportunity. So he began selling like a pair of flesh color nail polish and an opaque white nail polish, and he sold them together, and he called it the Natural Look Nail Kit.
Ah.
But then he took this kit to Paris, and he used it on models for fashion shows. And so then when he returned to the States, he started calling it the French manicure. And that's where it got.
That's how it happens. Okay.
The style really took off after Cher and Barbra Streisand both went on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson with French manis. Carson even asked Streisand about her nails, and the rest was history.
Oh my God.
It blew up. Another famous nail polish shade is Chanel's Rouge Noir, aka Vamp, and it is a reddish-black color. It's meant to mimic the color of dried blood. It was worn by Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction, and it remains one of Chanel's best-selling, if not the best-selling product of all time.
Wow.
Even though we don't like Coco Chanel, but
no, we don't like Coco Chanel here, but we love a good product.
Yes. And then aside from traditional manicures, you may have noticed that there has been an uprise in nail art, like long nails, different shapes, the coffin shape, almond shape, square shape, very intricate designs, jewels, beading, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A Guardian article from 2018 reads, "Ready for this jelly? How Kylie Jenner kickstarted the hashtag jelly nails Instagram craze." In 2021, Vanity Fair published an article called "How Billie Eilish's Nails Defined Her More is More Aesthetic," according to her manicurist. But the truth is that this exact kind of nail art that white celebrities are getting praised for today was historically mocked and looked down upon when worn on Black women.
Ah, very true.
Yes. A good example of this is Florence Flo Griffith Joyner, who in 1988 broke the 100 meters world record 3 times at the U.S. Olympic track and field trials, a record that still stands today. But she had long nails. Her nails seemed to garner more attention than her accomplishments. The Chicago Tribune ran an article called "Griffith Joyner Nails 100-Meter Dash Final" that pointed out how the runner wore 4-inch curved tiger-striped fingernails and a solid fuchsia manicure the next day. An article from TheGuardian.com called "From Ancient Egypt to Cardi B, A Cultural History of the Manicure" by Funmi Fedo says, quote, "It was Black women who would be at the helm of nail art's modern cultural resurgence. There was Donyale Luna, the first woman of color to appear on the cover of US Vogue, and she did appear with long, intricate nail art. Janet Jackson in the futuristic Busta Rhymes video for What's It Gonna Be, where she had hoop-pierced acrylic nails, which a couple of years ago, Kim K was credited with, basically starting that trend.
Oh, you love
Lil'
it.
Kim had her famous dollar bill manicure, which is now at the Museum of Modern Art in New York.
Amazing.
A quote from this article, quote, "These performers helped to create a look bejeweled, flamboyant, and over the top that felt like Black women pushing back against Eurocentric expectations that they should shrink from prominence. Instead, Black women were creating their own language around what was beautiful." However, the style was often looked down upon and seen as, quote, ghetto, until white celebrities like the Kardashian-Jenner started stealing it. Even in recent times, Black women can't catch a break. In 2016, Nicole Hannah Jones is a New York Times writer. She was talked down to by an esteemed white writer at a media conference. He questioned her validity as a journalist and was asked by him whether she would be off to get her nails done. So think about that when you see all these white celebrities getting praised for their, taking fashion risks or whatever with their ornate nails. I'm going to end with a quote from a Bustle article called "Acrylic Nails Will Always Be More Than Just a Manicure for Black Women" by Teo Barrow. Quote, "Acrylics are a way to resist stale stereotypes about appearance and presentation that are both baseless and disproportionately harmful to Black women. Aside from the fact that these nails are a part of our history, I like to think that in their own stylish way, acrylics help to push back against the respectability politics that have policed Black women's appearance for far too long. When I get acrylics done now, I wear them with a sense of pride and a feeling of cheeky defiance. I still get the same looks from people, though, and it's clear that while they're admiring my nails, they're still likely silently wondering what I do for a living or how I can get anything done with them on. But the difference is now that pride I wear is not just in my appearance, but in knowing that I carry with me a piece of our culture that is also a badge of honor."
Damn.
End quote.
I love it.
Yes, I do feel like that is a common, anytime anyone has really long nails, it's like, how do you
do
wipe
anything
your butt?
like
How do you do
this?
anything? Yeah. It's like,
I've actually
mind your
seen
business.
TikToks of people, women mostly with long nails, teaching you how to do things with long nails.
Yeah.
Like tutorials like, okay, not this, not this, and they kind of show you how to do, because tons of people are like, I really want long nails, but how do you? It's like,
yeah. But then, of course, it gets praised, when it's seen as a fashion thing.
Oh, of course.
But it's these trends have been around since the 90s.
Mm-hmm. I really like that, what was it, Lil' Kim's nails are at the Museum of Modern Art. Is that what you said?
Yeah. The
Amazing.
money nails. Maybe we'll post that on our Instagram.
We should go and see them.
To New York.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meet you in New York.
So that's nails for you.
Oh,
it makes me want to paint my nails. I'm going to paint my nails tomorrow.
I really want to get my nails. I like it, and I want to get my nails done. I love getting my nails done, but it's one of those things I don't want to spend the money on it all the time.
It's expensive. In Chicago, it's expensive. In Miami,
it really
it's much cheaper. New York, it's much cheaper. Although, that's another issue. Cheap labor is not always ethical.
Yes, true.
Sometimes isn't. But
anyway, maybe I'll just get that kit where you put the gel on and then you put it under the light.
Yeah, that's what Alex uses.
I know. And I have it in my wish list of things to buy when I feel cheeky.
There you go.
Maybe next time you see me, I'll have a cheeky little homemade gel nails.
I look forward to it.
Yes. My topic comes from the Tuesday, September 14th USA Today puzzle by Rebecca Goldstein and Brooke Husick. 43 across. Sing like Mason Ramsey.
Yell.
Yodel.
Oh, yes.
Yodel.
I remember
him.
Is that a Vine?
It's not a Vine. Okay, so we're going to get into that right now. So I'm talking about yodeling today. Yippee-ki-yay. But before we get into the madness that is yodeling, let's get into the yodeling mood, and we'll listen to Mr. Mason Ramsey's viral yodeling video, which is referenced in that clue. So if you don't understand what Sing Like Mason Ramsey means, you're about to find out.
Thought I tried and I tried to keep her satisfied, but she just wouldn't stay. So now that she is leaving, this is all I can say. I got a feeling, got 'em blue, oh Lord, since my baby said goodbye. Lord, I don't know what I do. All I do is sit inside. Oh Lord, that last long day she said goodbye. Well, Lord, I thought I would try. She do me, she do you. She's got the kind of loving. Lord, I love to hear what you call me sweet daddy. Such a beautiful dream.
Whatever happened to that kid?
Funny you should ask.
He was went on all these talk shows and stuff.
Yes. So, okay. We just listened to Mr. Mason Ramsey. If you're unfamiliar with what the heck I just played, first of all, Mason Ramsey is an American singer. He went viral in March of 2018 for the song you just heard. He was yodeling Hank Williams' Lovesick Blues in a Walmart, some random Walmart.
He's also like 12.
At the time, he was like really young. However many. Okay. He is now signed to like a record label. He has an album and a song out, and he is featured on multiple songs. Like I feel like he was recently featured on like a Lil Nas X type song. I don't think it was Lil Nas X, but something like that, you know? He's currently 15 years old.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, he was a baby. And I bet you his mom was like, no, you need to sing in front of people. And he's like, Mom, I don't want to sing at Walmart. She's like, no, you have to. And now she's like, see?
Yeah.
I told you someone would.
told you. No. Exactly. So that's yodeling, and that's who they're talking about in this clue. And now that we're in the mood, let's talk about what the heck yodeling actually is. Okay?
Let's.
We're talking about like the literal, like how does it work with your body? That's what we're going to talk about right now. So you may or may not know, but the human voice has two distinct vocal registers. They're called the head voice and the chest voice. Most people can sing tones within each of these registers respectively, you know, like you can sing in your chest voice and then you can pause and then you can sing in your head voice. Right. And then there's falsetto, which is an unsupported register, and it forces the voice higher without any support from your head or chest voice. So there's two like technically registers, like head and chest, and then falsetto is like the one above it. Okay, so when ranges like these overlap, it's called Passaggio, which is a challenge for untrained singers, though experienced singers can easily control switching between registers. So yodeling is a version of Passaggio in which a singer might change registers several times in only a few seconds at a high volume. Essentially, yodeling is a form of singing that involves repeated and rapid changes of pitch between the low-pitched chest register, or chest voice, and the high-pitched head register, or falsetto. And the repeated alternation produces like a very unique sound, like we just heard. For example, the famous yodel-e-oo, the E is sung in the head, and everything else is sung in the chest.
Why do I feel like we can yodel?
We absolutely can yodel. So let's go to the Alps and like yodel in the mountains. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Let's see here. Oh, okay. And so then in terms of notes that you would sing in the chest versus the head, ah, o, and oo are for chest voice, and a and e are for falsetto or head voice.
Mm-hmm.
So consonants are used as levers to launch you from low to high. And it kind of gives you this unique ear penetrating and distance spanning power, which is very important. Distance is important.
Okay. Noted.
When you think about yodeling, you probably think about Switzerland. You think about women in dirndls, men in lederhosen, the Alp horn, that big long Ricola horn thing that they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
You aren't wrong. Yodeling is hugely popular in folk tradition, not only in Switzerland, but in the Alpine region at large, right?
Mm-hmm.
That being said, yodeling did not originate in Europe, okay? Did not. There's this guy. His name is Bart Plantenga. He's the author of Yodel-e-oo, The Secret History of Yodeling Around the World. He is, in multiple articles that I read, he is described as the yodel expert. Take that and do with that what you will.
He's copyrighted that.
Exactly. So Plantenga says that yodeling most likely originated in Africa. Quote, at the beginning of mankind, when man decided he could do different things with his voice. More practically, it probably began 10,000 years or so ago when animals first were domesticated as a way to keep cattle together. It probably also had a lot to do with people amusing themselves.
Mm-hmm. People still like to have fun.
They have fun, even when they're raising cattle 10,000 years ago. Plantenga goes on to say that the history of yodeling is complicated and not easily pinned down. So there's no way to know for sure, like 100%, that this technique originated in Africa. He said, quote, it probably arose in numerous places around the world independently, but most likely originated in Africa sort of at the dawn of time. and spread from there.
Mhm.
So,
Makes sense. Checks out to me.
checks out. I focused most of my research on Alpine Yodeling, but I will briefly mention later on some other places that use various forms of yodeling. So bear with me here. Okay. Let's get into Alpine Yodeling. Yodeling may be a well-known Alpine folk tradition performed for pleasure and entertainment now, but yodeling evolved out of a rural practicality within the Alpine region. And when I say like the Alpine region, the Alps, I'm talking mainly about Switzerland, Germany, Austria, and a little bit of France. Yodeling was used to communicate from village to village and mountain to mountain, specifically for communities separated by deep alpine valleys and rugged terrain. Alpine yodelers, I'm going to like mispronounce yodel like multiple times. I've said yodel so much today that it doesn't even sound like a word anymore. It sounds like I'm yodeling. I'm like yodely, yodele, yodele, like literally. Okay.
If it happens, it happens.
It happens. Alpine yodelers essentially yodel from hill to hill, literally. Certain sounds and notes actually meant words. So in a way, yodeling began as a way to like kind of have this melodic language of the mountains. Imagine like being in like a valley and just hearing two people yodeling back and forth from different sides of the valley. Like how beautiful would that be, right?
Yeah.
And although you couldn't see like your fellow cowherd across the ravine, you could hear him and you would yodel back. It was like bird calls. The earliest written record of Alpine yodeling is from 1545, where it was described as, quote, the call of a cowherd from Appenzell. And Appenzell is like a state in Switzerland, which brings me to cowherds. Cowherds not only used yodeling to like communicate across the way with cowherd from the other village, they also use yodeling to communicate with their herds of animals and their flocks of sheep, their herds of cows. According to Plantenga, cowherds and the cows, quote, became close. The cows would line up when the herders wanted to take them up or down the mountain, depending on which of the yodels they used. So, like, you would yodel at your cows, and they'd be like, oh, Steve wants us to go up the mountain. And then, like, no, Steve wants us to go down the mountain.
The cows knew that?
Yes, by yodeling.
Wow. We need to give them more credit.
We really should. And of course, yodeling evolved over the years from something utilitarian to an art form, a choral tradition, if you will. In the 1800s, yodeling became popular in Europe as a form of entertainment, something you would go to a theater or like a music hall to see. The popular yodeling at the time was Tyrolean, which comes from Austria. Yodeling in Tyrol fulfilled an important function of national identity. During the Napoleonic Wars, yodeling served as a symbol of rebellion against French and Bavarian troops. Very cool. And during the 1900s, the governments of both Austria and Switzerland used folk music with yodeling as a way to strengthen national pride. Okay, so what does this mean in the 1900s? Well, in Austria, specifically, during the Nazi regime, singing and yodeling were considered patriotic and a patriotic duty, and the Nazi regime supported yodeling practices. They wanted the Austrians to yodel. They were like, please continue yodeling.
Well, something doesn't check out from Sound of Music then.
Not checking.
Because they put on that whole puppet show and yodeled.
I actually read in an article, there's somebody who's like a passionate yodeler. He's like born and raised in Austria and like yodeled his whole life, and he like talks shit about
Julie Andrews yodeling.
Yeah, they're like, that's not yodeling.
I think we talked about that in our
right.
You know, we have a Sound of Music podcast, Dara and me, and I think we did talk about how she did her best. She's not a yodeler.
She's
too much of
not.
this poor woman.
I know. You heard that, kid. That is something you have to like really train for.
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, the Nazis loved the Austrian yodeling. Okay, but in Switzerland it was a different story. Switzerland began to formalize during the 1900s what it meant to be a proper yodeler. They published a yodeling school manual. I'm not even going to tell you what this thing is called because it's in German, and I just couldn't even.
Fair.
And this was published in 1943, and the goal of this manual was to promote the proper Swiss yodeling way and to define its distinct form from that of the yodeling of neighboring Nazi countries, Austria. It's basically the ulterior motive of like setting down like a formalized version of Swiss yodeling was to, affirm Swiss national identity and to kind of distance themselves from the Nazi regime. Along the same vein of maintaining the Swiss way of yodeling, some passionate Swiss yodelers formed the Swiss Yodeling Association, in order to promote Swiss yodeling and to curb Tyrolean yodeling influence. Like I said, Tyrolean yodeling was what was the most popular. The Swiss were not happy with that, and they wanted to preserve their own folk music and customs, and with the Swiss Yodeling Association, they were able to do that. From what I could understand, so I tried to go on the Swiss Yodeling Association website and everything was, I could not read it, even with the translation.
Swiss to you?
It was Swiss to me. I didn't get a thing. But from a different article, from what I could understand, is that to be defined as a proper yodeler by the association is apparently a very rigorous and competitive process. There are tons and tons of rules. And up until the 90s, there was an ultra conservative group. Like women weren't even allowed to be in the group. Wow. They are now, thankfully, but they used to not be able to. And they said like this association is like Olympic level of rigor to get in. Like, okay, fine. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is a quote that I'm going to read this quote about the yodeling. Around 1900, the Swiss government saw that the old style of yodeling was dying out, the kind of melancholic yodel, and the German faster yodel, this is the kind from Austria, was taking over. So they imposed all of these laws that would try to preserve the Swiss tradition. They have all sorts of rules and regulations, and I liken it to diving in the Olympics. They look for certain kinds of details to make a particular kind of dive a 10, and it's the same in the officially sanctioned yodel competitions. Okay,
so it's serious.
Very serious. Maybe we couldn't be yodelers.
We're more like, club yodelers, just for fun.
Exactly. Switzerland is also known for their folk music festivals. These are devoted to yodeling and are organized to celebrate indigenous folk traditions and to unify both the urban and rural populaces. And these festivals are also one of the main reasons why yodeling has survived to this day. Because this is one of those things that it was, like I said before, it was a rural, like in the mountains, like people communicating from village to village. It's kind of trickled into the cities and it became like an art form. But as things started modernizing and different types of music were taking over, people were like, who needs this weird, funky, indigenous folk music shit? And then, you got your Swiss Yodeling Association. They're like, we need them. And let's set up all these festivals. And it kind of like now yodeling is here to stay. So thank God for those passionate Swiss yodelers. More about yodeling. Originally, yodeling was all about improvisation. So short vowels were sung in the chest and long notes were sung in falsetto. In the 1800s, yodeling morphed into songs that included 2, 3, and 4-part harmonies with an accompanying accordion. And this accordion has a very special name. I'm not even going to say it. I literally cannot even fathom how this word is pronounced. A specific type of yodeling is called natural yodeling. This is interesting. It begins with a solo yodeler singing in a slow sequence of notes with other yodelers humming along and providing spontaneous melody. This is the most primitive form of yodeling, and it's sung without words. And this is what would have been standard up in the mountains all those generations ago. Natural yodeling is still performed today, and you can see it at various folk festivals. At festivals, a natural yodeling performance might be accompanied by bell shaking with small alpine bells. And apparently, what makes natural yodeling so special is that there's this funny little thing called the 11th tone, which is also called the natural tone or the Alphorn Fa. So this is a very unique tone. It's in C major. But please note, it is neither heard as F or F sharp, but it lands somewhere in between the two. And for many people, this fa can be hard to get used to because since the 18th century, when tuning was introduced, essentially, the sound disappeared from usual tone series. So it's like not something people hear, but it kind of stuck around in this like indigenous like folk culture in the Alpine region. I was
That's
like,
cool.
The fact that there's this third note that people don't really know about. Anyway, I liked that.
A secret note.
A secret note. Eventually, yodeling evolved into song. A yodeling song has 2, 3, or 4-part harmonies. It's accompanied by that accordion that I mentioned earlier. This genre is what's favored at most festivals and by yodeling associations. I think probably because it's a little bit more marketable than just making noises. And these songs are usually about mountains, nature, home, and also issues such as freedom and independence. Each country has a unique sound when it comes to their yodels. According to Bart Plantenga, Austrian yodeling is sweeter and more popular oriented with the lyrics that they use. French yodeling is more pleasant to the ear for Americans. It's more sing-songy, more melodic. There's no gloomy, like doomy type vibe. German yodeling is that wacky beer garden kind of yodeling for the frivolity of beer drinking.
I feel like that's kind of a read in German yodeling.
Yes. And then Swiss yodeling is more melancholic, very slow, bluesy. It has like a very bluesy feel to it. Okay. So let's move into like yodeling around the world. In Scandinavia, there is an oral song tradition called Kolning, or it's also called lalling in Norwegian. It's a signal song, a sort of shout used to make yourself known at long distances, especially in the mountains. It was used not only as a cry of contact, so if you and I were like a couple miles away and I like lollinged at you, it was also like each person has a individual identifying sound that you would call out so that you would know who it was by the sound that I made.
We should make those for ourselves.
I think we really should. Imagine being like on a lake or something, like around tons of people, and we're just like calling back and forth. Yeah, exactly. In Persian classical music, singers frequently use tahrir, which is a yodeling technique that oscillates on various chords. It's basically used as an ornament or a trill at the end of long syllables. So you kind of just like add this like little trill, which I think I don't know anything about this type of singing, but it made me think of like when people have falsetto at the end of singing like a long note, you know, that kind of like trill that their voice does. The Shona people of Zimbabwe sometimes yodel when they play an instrument called the mbira, which is like a wooden board with metal tines that you kind of play with your fingers. And then many Hawaiian songs feature falsetto, and this is called kaleo kieki. I looked up how to pronounce it, and I think I totally fucked up. Sorry. The singer of this falsetto, usually a male, emphasizes the break between registers, and sometimes the singer exaggerates the break through repetition, such as a yodel. So you might hear yodeling in Hawaii, which is kind of cool. And of course, we have yodeling in America, like Mr. Mason Ramsey. Yodeling was huge in America. I mean, I think there's people that still like yodel and like take it very seriously, but
Mason.
Yeah, for a time it was like, it was the thing to be doing, was yodeling. And there are different stories about how yodeling came to America. Some say it was German immigrants. Others say there was Austrian traveling minstrel groups, kind of like, you know, how like the Sound of Music family traveled around the U.S. for a while. That was really normal for like people from Europe to come over and like travel and sing and shit. So, but Bart Plantenga, resident yodel expert, posits that yodeling came to America via slavery. Because remember, yodeling originated in Africa, okay? And there are places in Africa and tribes in Africa and like cultures in Africa that still have yodeling kind of baked into various culture and art forms. So this is from Plantenga, quote, "Freed enslaved people taught cowboys how to yodel. Jimmy Rogers was probably the most famous yodeler in America. He wrote probably about 100 songs, and about 3/4 of them have yodeling in them. He learned yodeling from African-American railroad workers when he was working as a water boy," which I thought was interesting. Plantenga goes on to say that you can literally find yodeling everywhere. It's just a vocal technique, and every culture uses their vocal cords in different ways. You know what I mean? You can find yodeling in Bollywood, you know, really weird underground music houses in Brooklyn, mountainous regions in China, the Netherlands, and even in contemporary punk rock. I want to end with a fun fact that I read, and I was like, I literally have to include this. I'm going to be talking about Mr. Johnny Wisemuller. He was an actor, active during the 1930s. He was born in Austria in 1904. His family moved to the U.S. in 1905, and they settled in Pennsylvania. Weiszmuller grew up learning yodeling from his family, and at many gatherings he was surrounded by his Austrian family members, so they would all be yodeling all the time. You may not know the name Johnny Wisemuller, but he changed the course of cinema history thanks to his Austrian origins. Johnny Wisemuller is most famous for playing Tarzan in Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan the Ape Man in 1932 and the 5 sequels produced by MGM. He also played Tarzan in another 6 Tarzan films produced by RKO. When he got the role of Tarzan, the character needed to have a wild call. Well, Johnny knew one. It was a yodel.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Now that you mention it, I didn't realize there were that many Tarzan movies. Jeez.
Right. Well, I'm going to send you a Tarzan yodel right now.
What was the obsession with A Human Raised by Monkeys that they made so many damn movies about it?
I know, and like A Human Raised by Wolves, that was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, what you just heard was Johnny Weissmuller's Tarzan call, his Austrian yodel. That's a fun fact for everybody today. And that's yodeling.
That's yodeling, y'all.
That's yodeling, yodeling, yodeling.
That sounded pretty good. Don't let the expert know.
Right. Bart Plantenga is listening. He's like, you're ruining the art form. Actually, he seems like a pretty nice person. Anyway.
Where do you get that from? You think he's nice?
I guess just the way
he's doing a lot of interviews.
He's doing a lot of interviews. He's talking. He seems to be very forthright about like, this is not a white person's thing, you know? So I like that about him.
All right. Yeah, we'll take that.
It's the small things we just take as wins these days.
Well, that's yodeling.
It is. It is.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
We will work on our own yodeling calls, and if you need another way to contact us, you can find us on Twitter at The Good Eve Girls.
Or Instagram at The Good Evening Girls.
Or TikTok at The Good Eve Girls.
And we'll yodel you later.
All right, y'all. Keep curious. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.